I welcome all of you to the Electoral Commission this morning. Indeed, this is the first time a sitting vice president has personally presented his nomination forms to the Electoral Commission.
Pray for God's blessings for the New Patriotic Party, myself and my team, so that we will emerge victorious in this election.
By law, the presidential candidate is also required to designate a person to serve as his or her vice presidential candidate. Further,
from our rounds, there are all indications that change is in the air.
Sure.
And so we just crave your indulgence to secure the peace of the country before, during, and after the elections.
But to be a part of this national governance, and I thank God to be one of the people who have started this whole movement, making sure that people of our age, people that belong to the youth sector, finally are part of this movement and national.
Omo presidential ambition. Ewo oman Ghana mu efri anopaya ebeya no ma start ya omo file omo nomination. Ewo Electoral Commission headquarters. Mame je mention ono ankasa tie dwomu a woje nkrata ni nyina. Beginning from Shada ko amampanimfo age a womo ehwehwem. Afei the New Patriotic Party flag bearer na kasa Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, the party chairman, the rare mate, and then the general secretary, lawyer Justin Kubia, and then Penimfo nyina nso akwako pimu ewo EC officer womo akwako file womo a nomination. Make say the National Democratic Congress led by chairman general Ashidun Ketia and Mame Jane Mensa womo nso ewo EC officer womo file womo nomination. Na ensamwa Mame Jane Mensa eka nyina nso mbehwe se obi a obeba be file nomination no oman no amamra yede ebu oman no nhihya aka ede afa obi a opese opremampani se wodi ede fimfie aduanan ekosika wo se utua ehun nhihye nyina no two committees ana wasete omo apa wode onkrata no ne nyina aba na wo mo ahwehwem na wo mo get back to you said the bear enema ebetumi akonkan. Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia afare nomination ewie wasan so akọ party office and party supporters ni bebre akọ kasa make say the general our san so ye chairman asedi nketia so gusu a o fale his excellency John Dramani Mahama there wasan so akasa all the members of parliament a won bagina our the National Democratic Congress team no Wamusika nyina nso wa ready a wa nyina in a banker's draft form or the Emma is into obesere isi say on notify the district officers no say the bear obi an konkoye bibia elho enti no we ni nsam a free EC office eba maame no akasa bebre Johnson Ashidun Ketia nso akasa afei Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia akasa sheda enso akasa ne nyina e video no a yede ema no wa hwese de womo a womo pemampani edi wo man Ghana mu filing of the nomination is Ekoso or EC office.
This morning, we are here to kickstart one of the most important processes in the lead up to the 2024 general elections. Indeed, without this process, the Commission cannot run the election. And here I'm referring to the filing of nominations by presidential candidates who are seeking to contest the 2024 presidential election. Regulation 7 of CI 127 enjoins a presidential candidate to complete and sign 4 copies of the nomination forms. Additionally, the forms are to be signed by no less than 2 persons who are registered voters in the area of authority of each district assembly. By law, the presidential candidate is also required to designate a person to serve as his or her vice presidential candidate. Further, the presidential candidate is required to deliver the forms to the Commission on the date prescribed by the Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, As part of the Commission's efforts to ensure a transparent, credible, and accountable process, the Commission has developed a detailed checklist that embodies the criteria to be satisfied by presidential candidates as prescribed by law. The checklist will guide the scoring and awarding of marks by teams established by the Commission to scrutinize and review each nomination form submitted. As in 2020, the Commission has established 2 teams which have been tasked to review all forms submitted. The technical team has been tasked to review forms to ensure that the presidential candidates meet the qualifications as set out by law, namely that the candidate is at least 40 years of age, that he or she has satisfied all tax obligations, and that he or she has nominated a vice presidential candidate, among others. The second team, namely the IT team, has been charged with the responsibility of scrutinizing the voter ID cards of presidential candidates and their supporters, so as to verify whether the candidates and their supporters are indeed registered voters. Both teams have been provided adequate training and have been oriented to carry out their functions as prescribed by law. The guiding principle for both teams is clear. They are to operate within the confines of the law. They are not to exercise discretion in the matter. Above all, they have been tasked to be fair and yet firm in executing their duties. We have no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that the process will be transparent, fair, and peaceful. Additionally, we are confident that the 5-day period provided for the filing process, as opposed to the 2-day process prior to 2020, will allow enough time for presidential candidates to correct errors identified in their forms. We are confident that this will eliminate the tensions and rancor that characterized the filing process prior to the 2020 election. Once again, I warmly welcome all of you to the Electoral Commission this morning, and thank you, Mr. Vice President, for coming in person to submit your nomination forms. As the returning officer for the 2024 general election, I will now receive your forms. Your forms will be subjected to vetting and scrutiny by our teams. I assure you that our teams will go to work immediately on your forms and will contact you within the shortest possible time to inform you of the decision arrived at.
And we need God to continue to bless our country. What we are trying to do is to help uplift our country. We don't want to tear down our country. And so it's very important that our country is uplifted after the election. And in this context, I believe that our prayers and our behaviors as we go through and our conduct will be very, very important to ensure that this process is very peaceful at the end of the day. I believe also that we should pray for the Electoral Commission. They do a very, very difficult job, probably the most difficult job, because whenever you go into an election, you're either going to win or lose, and usually the EC is the scapegoat for people who may not have won. So we want to pray that the good Lord, pray for God's blessings for the new patriotic party, myself and my team, so that we will emerge victorious in this election.
You in the media that you have equally also made payments for all our 276 parliamentary candidates and those filing at the various respective district offices. Thank you very much, and thanks for a warm reception.
Thank you.
How many people are filing today?
Agreed that today, 2 o'clock, is the appointed time for the filing of nominations. So we are here for for that purpose. We have brought with us duly completed nomination forms, and let me commend you for making the forms available online, so we didn't have to come here to pick physically. So we've completed the nomination forms in quadruplicate as required by law. We submit here attestation to the tax compliance of our candidate in the form of a tax clearance certificate, and then a declaration from the audit service, a declaration to assist liability under Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution, the official receipt. And then we have a banker's draft covering the filing fees. And then we have the pictures, sizes of which have been stipulated in your nomination forms. And we submit the particulars of a person selected as the running mate for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is in the person of Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman. We are hopeful that he is going to be the first female Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. In addition, we have paid, we submit here our banker's draft covering the filing fees for all our 276 parliamentary candidates across the country. We are hopeful that you notify your district offices about this so that they don't request another payment from our candidates. So on this note, we want to thank you very much for receiving us, and at this point, we have the pleasure to submit the documents to you for your scrutiny, and we will be awaiting for a declaration that our candidate has fully complied with the requirements. Thank you very much. From our rounds, there are all indications that change is in the air. Sure. And so we just crave your indulgence to secure the peace of the country before, during, and after the elections. We wish to urge the Commission to also play their role as a neutral umpire. We have concerns about the process so far, and I believe we are engaging, and that is the purpose of the engagement, so that we can get mutual conclusions that are acceptable to everybody. But we are not going to sleep over our rights at all getting into these elections. And so we are hopeful that the Commission will listen and listen to us very well and discharge their responsibilities in a manner that will be satisfactory to all participating parties and the general public. Thank you very much.